Peace, family. This is Daku, and today I want to apologize to those black liberation freedom fighters out there. I want to apologize if I've been a distraction from black liberation in any way. It was brought up that we, and I gotta say because it ain't too many people out there doing what I do that's in the black liberation movement. Alright, they doing it, but they not really talking about it. Alright? So I gotta say me. I talk a lot about gardening. I talk a lot about producing, growing our own food. And I don't want people to come into the movement thinking that that's all it's about. It's not just about growing food. Part of our problem is that our language keeps evolving. Or should I say, de-evolving or devolving. We used to say that getting healthy was a holistic thing. Now most people are simply either exercising or eating, or breathing correctly, or meditating. But there's not a whole lot of people that are putting all of the necessary ingredients in the same pot and mixing it up. But that's when we're talking about health. When we're talking about liberation, it's the same thing. We need to talk about a holistic approach to liberation. So people think that liberation and growing food are two separate considerations. But I'm here to tell you that you can't have liberation without growing food. They say that all we need to think about, or the primary thing we need to think about, is our military. But that's because I've done a poor job, because it's my area and it's my responsibility to bring this information to you. I've done a poor job of sharing with you or talking about the war gardens. All throughout history, soldiers, military men and women, had to be sustained throughout their fighting. So when you look at all these epic movies and you just see them going to war, and you don't see where they're getting their food from. They've been on the ship 6 months. They've been on foot for a year. And you don't see where they're getting their food from. You just see them picking up a sword or a gun or a bow and arrow. And they start going at the enemy. But they got their shields, they got the sword, they got the bow and arrow. But they're not showing who produced the bow and arrow, who produced the sword, the knife. You absolutely have to think about production when you're talking about liberation. There ain't no getting away around that. I think even in the black liberation movement, I think it's an American thing now, that we tend to take the path of the least resistance. If somebody like me says grow food, they say, nah, we can just go down to the store and get some food. Let me show you how silly that is. Now, I'm a military man, I'm a soldier. And I'm going to depend on my enemy, who I have admitted is attacking us through the food to feed us. Now, my enemy knows that I'm his enemy. And he's going to feed me the food it takes to sustain me to go do battle with him. It doesn't make sense. It's like you're a military man and you got your weapons, but where'd you get your weapons from? You telling me you got your weapons from the enemy. When they talk about our ancestors, the Maroons, that fought against slavery fought with a military, multiple militaries in the South at the peak, in the height of slavery. When people tell the story, they say the only way they got their weapons is to get it from the slave master. Now, I'm not saying that some of them didn't get their weapons from the slave master. Of course they did. But when we talk about gardening, we're not just talking about growing food. We've shared this with you before. We're talking about growing food. We're talking about growing medicine, shelter, clothes, and yes, weapons. The most effective weapons, we told y'all this last year, come from plants. The most dangerous weapons come from the earth. But you've been trained. You've been trained by your repetitive watching of Scarface, The Godfather, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, and movies like that, where you think the person with the gun got the most power. The person with the gun is the one that controls everything. It's just like the people, the money people. They say if we can get $1 trillion, if we got $1 trillion, we should be able to be economically independent. Well, shit, you can count your money. You got $1 billion, you can count it. You can't even count the enemy's money. It's like two people are going to a gunfight, and each one of the two got a 6-shooter. And they only got 12 bullets between them. And they going to fight against people that is 1,000 deep. And they got thousands and thousands of rounds of ammunition. And you're going to defeat the enemy by using your little 6 bullets. And then you're going to call a timeout and say, hold up, timeout, timeout. We need some more bullets. Can y'all give us some bullets? That's how ridiculous the statement is, that gardening has very little to do with liberation. That's not true. The Vietnamese, we know they beat the hell out of the Americans, the British, and the French. We know that. And some people say, well, all they had to eat was rice. Well, where the hell do you think they got their rice from? They sure didn't get it from America. They didn't get it from France, and they didn't get it from England. They grew it themselves, or had somebody nearby growing it on their behalf. So yes, of course liberation is about military. It's about military science. But it's also about agricultural science. It's also about diet. Yeah, me, just like you, get sick of everybody talking about what they gonna eat tonight. Their idea of liberation is not eating meat. But some of our greatest military minds that were able to hold off the most powerful military in the world with very little weapons, far outnumbered and far outgunned. They ate meat. Some of them ate pig feet. They ate whatever was available to them. So y'all have heard me say before, I'm not all on the vegan thing, even though I believe we should be vegan. But you're not going to hear me say that if you're not vegan, you can't be a revolutionary. Because that's just foolish. That's wishful thinking. One of the other things we do is we feel that studying is the way to be liberated. Stop it. You think the white man was more intelligent than everybody else? The white man was more deadly than everybody else. But he wasn't more intelligent than everybody else. Remember, Ani told us some time ago that they deal in death without birth. So they'll give you food, but the food is infertile. So they'll give you a tomato that can't produce any more tomatoes, or a watermelon, a seedless watermelon. So you'll eat once, but you won't be able to eat again unless he provides you with a watermelon. It's known that the enemy makes you depend on him in every way. That's why he ain't afraid of you. He ain't afraid of me. Because we depend on him for everything. We depend on him for water. Where you get your water from? Just think about that. We depend on him for clothes. Where do you get your clothes from? Somebody said, I grow my own clothes. Where do you get the cloth from to make the clothes? We depend on them. We can't continue to depend on them. So growing your own food, no, is not the only thing you need to do to get free. And again, I apologize for distracting you from black liberation theology, if that's what's happening, but that's not my intention. My area is agricultural science, and I'm just sharing the information with you. But I believe in a holistic approach to liberation. Too many of our leaders and scholars and teachers will tell you or give you one tool for liberation. They'll have one solution to a problem that exists on every level of human existence. They'll tell you all you got to do is believe in Jesus. That's what one side will tell you. Another side will tell you all you got to do is get rid of the Bible. It's the Bible that destroyed us. The Bible ain't what destroyed you. It might have kept you in a situation where you question whether you should get up and rise up and fight back. But that's not what destroyed you. It was white supremacy ideology that destroyed you. And you saying that we should not produce our own is white supremacy ideology. Because where else you gonna get it from if you don't produce it? You're gonna get it from your enemy. And you saying that your enemy is the white supremacist, the system of white supremacy. But you yourself are practicing white supremacy by depending and relying on the white supremacists for everything. When I first considered becoming vegetarian and vegan all those years ago, one of my first questions was, where do I get the food from? Because I'm fighting for black liberation to put an end to the black Holocaust, which is worldwide, by the way. And you tell me, they were telling me back then where to go to get the food. And I'm thinking, well, who owns these restaurants? Who owns these grocery stores and markets? You say, go to the organic market. Okay, cool. Who owns the organic market? You're just sending me from one plantation to the other plantation. But they all plantations, and they all serve white supremacy to one degree or another. So you must produce your own. Grow your own food. Study your history, if that's all you like to do is study, and you'll see clearly how gardening, farming, agriculture ties in. It's a direct connection to liberation. You can't have liberation without food. You can have weapons, the best weapons in the world. But if you don't have no food and no water, you'll be dead in 40 days, whether somebody shoots you or not. So you must have resources. Those that talk about money, they're single-minded. All you need is money and you'll have everything you need. That's bullshit. One of our elders who helped organize the original Million Man March in 1995 told me personally that there's a place in Texas, I can't think about the name right off the top of my head, it's by a university, that won't sell any real estate. It's written in the law, I think he told me, but won't sell any real estate to Oprah, who got all this money, Bill Cosby, who supposedly has all this money. None of them. No black person can buy land there. But you telling me that money is the solution. You never heard me say that gardening was the solution. Gardening is definitely part of the solution. Military science is definitely part of the solution. Okay? It's a holistic approach to black liberation. So no matter what you're talking about, if I know that your motivation is black liberation, I ain't gonna stop you from talking about that, even though I know that that's only one area that we need to be focused on. So if I need information on the area that you specialize in, then I'm gonna go to you. People work out all day. They got muscles in their fingernails, muscles in their toes. Can't fight. It's the purpose of the muscles. You just a show pony. People practice kung fu all day long. But then when a white supremacist comes, they non-violent and peaceful. But if they get attacked on the street from one of their brothers, they do their best to try to break their brother's neck. Non-violence out the window. The martial arts isn't being used for black liberation. Should we study martial arts? Yes, we should. Should we talk about every move that we're making in front of the camera? No. We should not. One of the problems that people had with Bruce Lee, and we as Americans, we just love Bruce Lee, right? But they like, you giving up the secrets. The white man didn't know nothing about no hand-to-hand combat. He been getting his ass whooped in hand-to-hand combat for centuries. Thousands of years. When Carthage was whooping the hell out of Rome, Hannibal, do you know why? One of the reasons he lost is because he ran out of resources. What's one of the resources he ran out of? Food. You can't fight without food. They go hand in hand. So I don't want to deceive the people into making them think that it's all about growing food. I know I'm sounding redundant here, but I gotta keep saying it because I don't want to keep repeating myself. But you need to know where I'm coming from. If I talk about agricultural science and show you the science by example, then I'm showing you one aspect, one key to freedom. But it's just one key. It's a lot of different locks and padlocks and bars and all that shit that's preventing you from becoming free. But I challenge you and encourage you to learn how to grow food, learn how to make clothes, learn how to make weapons, learn how to use the weapons, learn who to use the weapons against. It's a holistic approach to freedom. It's gardening and freedom, not gardening or freedom.